The night Priya told me she was going to Raj's birthday party without me, I knew our marriage was as done as last week's fish. She stood in our bedroom doorway, hair perfectly styled even at midnight, wearing that black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. The irony wasn't lost on me. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. You're not invited, so don't wait up, she said, her voice carrying all the warmth of a bank foreclosure notice. I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been debugging code for 12 straight hours, and gave her my best smile. Sure thing, honey, knock yourself out. That's when I saw it, that flicker of surprise in her dark eyes. She'd expected a fight, maybe some jealous tantrum. Instead, she got Owen Mitchell, software tester extraordinaire, acting like he didn't give a damn, which at that moment I didn't, or at least I told myself I didn't. The truth was messier. Priya had been my world for 8 years, 5 dating, 3 married. We'd met at a coffee shop downtown where she was styling a photo shoot for some local fashion brand. I was the guy in the corner booth, nursing black coffee and pretending to read Chandler while stealing glances at the gorgeous woman arranging silk scarves like they held the secrets of the universe. Now, here we were, strangers sharing a mortgage and a Netflix password. After she left in a cloud of expensive perfume and righteous indignation, I sat in the silence of our modest 2-bedroom house. The faded boxing gloves hanging above my desk caught the streetlight filtering through our thin curtains. Reggie, my old coach, had given them to me when I quit fighting at 25. "Keep these," he'd said. Sometimes life throws harder punches than any opponent. My phone started buzzing around 1 a.m. Instagram notifications. Priya's stories were lighting up like a Christmas tree. Boozy selfies, VIP booth shots, and there it was. Raj's arm around her waist, his hand resting just a little too low on her hip. The comments rolled in from her circle of influencer friends. "You two look amazing together." "Where's Owen tonight?" "Raj is such a catch." I screenshot everything. Call it paranoia, call it preparation. Either way, I had a feeling I'd need evidence later. By 3 a.m., my phone had 17 missed calls from Priya. I turned it off and went to bed, sleeping better than I had in months. The next morning brought a revelation that would have been funny if it weren't so pathetic. Priya stumbled in around 7, makeup smeared, dress wrinkled, reeking of cigarettes and guilt. She found me in the kitchen, making coffee and eggs like it was any other Tuesday. "We need to talk," she announced, trying to sound authoritative despite looking like she'd been hit by a party bus. "Do we?" I asked, not looking up from the stove. "Because last night you seemed pretty clear about where things stood." "It's not what you think." "Priya, sweetheart, I'm a software tester. My job is literally finding problems other people try to hide. So please spare me the debugging session." She opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, my wife was speechless. That's when I made my first move in what would become the most satisfying game of chess I'd ever played. I'd been preparing for this moment longer than I cared to admit. 3 months earlier, when Priya started working late and taking mysterious phone calls in the bathroom, I'd consulted my friend Kelly, a divorce attorney with a reputation for creative solutions. "If you're thinking what I think you're thinking," Kelly had said over beers at Murphy's Pub, "you need to protect yourself first. Set up an LLC, start moving assets, document everything. But Owen, and I cannot stress this enough, don't do anything stupid." Stupid was relative. While Priya showered off her night of poor decisions, I made 3 phone calls. First to Kelly, activating our pre-planned legal strategy. Second to my bank, transferring our joint savings to my business account. Completely legal since I was the primary earner and had power of attorney for business purposes. Third to my landlord buddy Mike, securing a month-to-month rental across town. By noon, I was packed and gone. I left my wedding ring on the kitchen counter next to a note, "Gone fishing, back when I catch something worthwhile." The beauty of disappearing in the digital age is that people expect constant contact. When you suddenly go dark, it creates a vacuum that gets filled with panic and paranoia. I turned off my personal phone, activated a burner, and checked into the Riverside Motel, a gloriously seedy establishment that charged by the week and asked no questions. From my new headquarters, I watched Priya's world start to unravel through social media. Her Instagram stories went from defiant, living my best life, to confused, "Has anyone heard from Owen?" to increasingly desperate, "Please call me if you see this." The missed calls on my phone climbed into the triple digits, but the real entertainment came from monitoring our shared credit cards. Priya, apparently believing our joint account was still flush with cash, had gone on a shopping spree with Raj. Designer shoes, expensive dinners, a weekend at the Lakewood Resort. Each purchase hit a card that was now maxed out, thanks to my strategic pre-spending on legitimate business expenses. By day 3 of my disappearance, Priya's cards were declining everywhere. The humiliation of having your American Express rejected at Nordstrom in front of your boyfriend is a special kind of pain, one I was happy to inflict from the comfort of my motel room. My burner phone rang on Thursday night. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code. Owen, thank God, it's Mel. Priya's best friend, the influencer with more followers than brain cells. Where the hell are you? Priya's losing her mind. Is she now? I kept my voice neutral. That's unfortunate. Look, I know you two are having problems, but disappearing isn't the answer. She's worried sick. Mel, let me ask you something. When your friend posts videos of herself grinding on her ex-boyfriend at a party, what exactly am I supposed to worry about? Her safety or her reputation? Silence. Right. Well, tell Priya I'm fine. I'm just taking some time to think about our future, or lack thereof. I hung up and ordered pizza. Extra cheese, extra satisfaction. The weekend brought my favorite development yet, Raj's panic. According to my sources, Mrs. Finch, our 70-year-old neighbor who had the surveillance instincts of the CIA, Raj had been by the house twice looking for me. The second time, he'd actually tried the back door. That was a mistake. Sunday night, I paid Raj's Mercedes a visit in the parking lot of his trendy downtown club. Nothing illegal, mind you, just some creative automotive maintenance. I let the air out of all 4 tires, poured a carton of spoiled milk into his air conditioning intake, and left a note under his windshield wiper. Hope you like the smell of betrayal. P.S. These tires look a little flat. Might want to check your pressure. The beauty of psychological warfare is that your opponent's imagination does most of the work. Raj would spend the next week wondering what else I might do, jumping at every shadow, checking over his shoulder like a guilty man should, but I was just getting started. Monday morning brought the main event, serving papers. Kelly had outdone herself. The documents were a masterpiece of legal precision, separation papers, asset freezing orders, and my personal favorite, a cease and desist letter demanding Priya stop using my credit for her romantic adventures. I watched from across the street as the process server knocked on our door. Priya answered in her bathrobe, probably expecting a package. Instead, she got a legal reality check that hit harder than any punch I'd ever thrown in the ring. Her scream could be heard 3 houses away. The next phase required more finesse. Priya worked as a freelance stylist for Hartwell Design, a high-end firm that catered to the city's social elite. Her boss, Margot Hartwell, was old money with new attitudes. She valued discretion, professionalism, and reputation above all else, which made my anonymous tip particularly effective. Miss Hartwell, I said, disguising my voice with a slight accent, I thought you should know that one of your contractors has been involved in some rather public marital drama. The photos are all over social media. Might want to check Priya Mitchell's Instagram before your next client meeting. I hung up and waited. It took exactly 4 hours for Margot to call Priya and indefinitely postpone her upcoming projects. In the styling world, that was code for, you're fired, but we're too polite to say it. By Tuesday afternoon, Priya was spiraling. Her income had dried up, her credit cards were frozen, and her social media was becoming a public spectacle as friends and followers dissected her marriage in real time. That's when she made her first real mistake. She came looking for me. Mrs. Finch called my burner around 6 p.m. Owen, honey, your wife is in my driveway asking if I've seen you. She looks terrible. Should I tell her anything? Tell her I'm fine, but I'm not ready to talk. And Mrs. Finch? Maybe mention that you heard I was staying at the Riverside Motel, room 247. Are you sure, dear? Trust me. An hour later, I watched from the parking lot across the street as Priya pounded on the door of room 247, which I'd never actually rented. The poor occupant, a traveling salesman named Bob, was probably wondering why a hysterical woman was screaming his name and demanding he stop playing games. Security eventually escorted her off the property. I drove back to my actual room, 231, and slept like a baby. Wednesday brought the confrontation I'd been orchestrating all week. Hartwell Design was hosting their monthly networking mixer at the Grandview Hotel downtown. Priya would be there, trying to salvage her professional relationships. Raj would probably show up too, since he never missed a chance to schmooze with potential clients for his event planning business. I put on my best suit, the charcoal gray one Priya had picked out for my cousin's wedding, and crashed their party. The Grandview's main ballroom was full of the city's creative class, all networking and air-kissing and pretending their work mattered more than it did. I spotted Priya immediately, cornered near the bar, talking frantically to anyone who would listen. Her usual confidence was gone. replaced by the desperate energy of someone whose world was collapsing in real time. Raj stood across the room, looking uncomfortable in an expensive suit that couldn't hide his basic nature. He was the kind of guy who thought bottle service made him sophisticated and name-dropping made him interesting. Priya's type, apparently. I made my entrance during Margot Hartwell's welcome speech. "Excuse me," I said, approaching the microphone with the confidence of someone who belonged there. "I hate to interrupt, but I have something important to share with everyone." Margot looked confused, but stepped aside. The room fell silent, all eyes on the stranger in the nice suit. "My name is Owen Mitchell. Some of you know my wife, Priya. She's been styling events and photo shoots for many of your companies. What you might not know is that she's been styling something else lately, a relationship with her ex-boyfriend while we're still married." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones came out. In the social media age, public humiliation travels at light speed. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the room's sound system, a trick I'd learned from my IT background. "I thought you might enjoy some of their text exchanges. Raj, buddy, you might want to hear this too." The first message filled the room in Raj's own voice. I'd recorded him leaving a voicemail on Priya's phone, which I still had access to through our shared cloud account. "Baby, last night was incredible. I can't wait to get rid of that loser husband of yours and make this official. The guy's a total zero. No money, no style, no future. You deserve so much better." The room erupted. Priya's face went white. Raj looked like he wanted to crawl into a hole and die. But I wasn't done. "Here's another good one," I continued, playing a recording of Priya talking to Mel about their plan to accidentally run into Raj at various events until something happened. "I mean, Owen's sweet and all, but he's never going anywhere. Raj has connections, money, ambition. Sometimes you have to trade up, you know?" The crowd was eating it up like reality TV. Phones were recording everything, uploading to social media in real time. Priya's professional reputation wasn't just damaged, it was obliterated. I saved the best for last. "Oh, and Raj, that Mercedes you're so proud of, the one you've been driving my wife around in, I hope you enjoyed the milk bath I gave your air conditioning system. Consider it a wedding gift." That's when Raj finally found his voice. "You're insane, man. That's vandalism." "Prove it," I said with a smile. I was very careful not to leave fingerprints. Security was moving toward me now, but I'd said what I came to say. I handed Priya a box I'd been carrying, all her stuff from the house, including the jewelry I'd given her over the years. "You always wanted to be the center of attention, sweetheart. Congratulations, you finally made it." I walked out to the sound of chaos erupting behind me. The video would be viral by morning, but my revenge was just getting started. The next morning brought news that Raj had fled town. According to Mrs. Finch's intelligence network, he'd packed up his apartment overnight and headed back to Chicago, leaving behind his lease, his business, and a lot of unpaid bills. Priya, meanwhile, had become a social media pariah. The video from the networking event was everywhere, shared and reshared with increasingly cruel commentary. Her Instagram followers were dropping by the hundreds. The styling clients she had left were mysteriously canceling their contracts. That's when Mel made her move. "Owen, we need to talk," she said when I answered my burner phone Thursday afternoon. "Can you meet me at Murphy's Pub? It's about Priya." Murphy's was my old hangout, a dive bar near the boxing gym where I'd spent my 20s learning that sometimes the best defense is a devastating offense. I arrived early and claimed a corner booth with a good view of the entrance. Mel showed up 20 minutes late, looking uncharacteristically nervous. Her usual Instagram-ready appearance was replaced by jeans and a hoodie, like she was trying to avoid being recognized. "Thanks for coming," she said, sliding into the booth across from me. "This should be interesting. What's on your mind, Mel?" She fidgeted with her phone, not making eye contact. "I need to tell you something about Priya and Raj, about how this whole thing started." "I'm listening." "It wasn't random. The affair, I mean. It was planned." I kept my expression neutral, but inside, alarm bells were ringing. "Planned how?" "Priya was unhappy. She felt like you two had grown apart, like you didn't appreciate her anymore. She was talking about leaving, but she didn't know how." "So she decided to cheat?" "No, that's not... Look, this is hard to explain." Mel finally looked up at me, and I saw something I hadn't expected. Guilt. I introduced her to Raj. I knew he'd been asking about her ever since she got married. I thought if she saw what else was out there, she'd realize what she really wanted. "You set up my wife to cheat on me?" "I set up my friend to figure out her life. I didn't know it would get this messy." I leaned back in the booth, processing this information. Mel, Priya's loyal best friend, had orchestrated the whole thing. The betrayal was deeper than I'd imagined. Why are you telling me this now? Because it's gotten out of hand. The public humiliation, the financial stuff, her career being ruined. This isn't what I wanted. I just wanted her to be happy. And you thought destroying our marriage would make her happy? I thought giving her options would make her happy. But now she's miserable, broke, and hated by half the city. And you? You're scary when you're angry, Owen. I didn't expect that. I smiled, and Mel visibly shuddered. Here's what's going to happen, I said quietly. You're going to call Priya and tell her to meet you at your place tomorrow night. Tell her you're having a small gathering, just close friends, to help her get through this difficult time. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'll make sure everyone knows that you were the puppet master behind this whole mess. Your influencer career will be over before you can say sponsored content. Mel's face went pale. You wouldn't. Try me. She agreed to the meeting. Friday evening, I prepared for the final act of my revenge drama. I'd spent the day gathering intelligence, making phone calls, and setting up what would be the most satisfying confrontation of my life. Mel lived in a converted warehouse in the Arts District, the kind of trendy space that looked great on Instagram but was hell to heat in winter. She'd decorated it like a magazine spread, all white furniture and exposed brick, with ring lights positioned for optimal selfie angles. I arrived early and let myself in through the back entrance. Mel had given me the code under duress, and I'd promised to stay hidden until the right moment. I positioned myself in her bedroom loft, where I could see and hear everything happening in the main living area. Priya arrived at 7, looking like a shadow of her former self. The week of public humiliation had taken its toll. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, her usual confidence replaced by defeated exhaustion. "Thank God," she said, hugging Mel tightly. "I feel like you're the only friend I have left." "That's what I wanted to talk to you about," Mel said, leading her to the white leather couch. "About friends, and loyalty, and the truth." "What do you mean?" That's when I made my entrance, walking down the loft stairs like I owned the place. Priya screamed, actually screamed. "Hello, sweetheart," I said casually. "Mel invited me to your little support group. Hope you don't mind." "What is this?" Priya looked between Mel and me, confusion and terror warring on her face. "This is an intervention," I said, settling into the chair across from them. "See, Mel has something to tell you. Something about how your affair with Raj really started." Priya turned to Mel, who was staring at the floor like it held the answers to the universe. "Tell her, Mel. Tell her how you set the whole thing up." "I don't understand," Priya whispered. Mel finally looked up, tears in her eyes. "I introduced you to Raj on purpose. I knew he wanted you. I thought if you had an option, you'd figure out what you really wanted. You set me up to cheat on my husband. I set you up to be happy. By destroying my marriage. Your marriage was already over. You said so yourself, 100 times. You were miserable with Owen, bored out of your mind, feeling trapped and unappreciated. I gave you a way out." Priya stared at her best friend like she was seeing her for the first time. "You manipulated me. You manipulated both of us." "And now," I interjected, "she gets to watch the consequences." I pulled out my phone and opened the recording app. "See, ladies, I've been documenting everything. Every conversation, every confession, every betrayal, and tomorrow morning it's all going public." "You can't," Mel gasped. "My career? Your career is built on lies and manipulation. Consider this a public service announcement." Priya was crying now, the full weight of the betrayal hitting her. "How could you do this to me? I trusted you. I was trying to help you. You were trying to control me, just like you control everything else in your perfect little Instagram world." That's when the real fight started. 8 years of friendship exploded into accusations, recriminations, and brutal honesty. I sat back and watched two people who'd claimed to love each other tear each other apart, with words sharper than any blade. When they were both exhausted and hoarse, I stood up. "Well, this has been enlightening. But I have one more surprise for you both." I walked to Mel's laptop, which was connected to her wall-mounted TV, and pulled up a video file. "Remember last week, Mel, when you got drunk and called me? When you bragged about how you'd manipulated the whole situation? When you said Priya was too stupid to see what was best for her?" Mel's face went white. I hit play. Mel's drunken voice filled the room. "She's so naive, Owen. She actually thinks Raj loves her. I just needed her to cheat so she'd have to leave you. She deserves better than some boring software guy who'll never amount to anything. I'm doing you both a favor." Priya turned to stare at Mel with pure hatred. "You think I'm stupid? You think I don't deserve my own husband?" "Priya, I was drunk. I didn't mean—" "You meant every word. The final confrontation was everything I'd hoped for. Priya, finally seeing the truth about her manipulative friend, unleashed years of suppressed resentment. Mel, cornered and exposed, dropped her sweet girl act and revealed the calculating narcissist underneath. They screamed at each other until they were both crying, both broken, both destroyed. And I walked out, leaving them in the wreckage of their friendship, with copies of all the evidence safely stored in multiple locations. The next morning, I uploaded everything to social media, the recordings, the screenshots, the timeline of manipulation and betrayal. Within hours, it was viral. Priya and Mel's faces were plastered across every gossip blog and drama forum in the city. But I wasn't done yet. I drove to Reggie's gym, where my old coach was training a new crop of young fighters. The familiar smell of sweat and leather brought back memories of simpler times when problems could be solved with fists and determination. "Owen," Reggie said, looking up from wrapping a kid's hands. "Heard you've been busy." Word travels fast. "In this neighborhood? Hell yes. So what's next? You got your revenge, embarrassed the cheaters, exposed the manipulator. Most men would call it a day." "Most men aren't married to Priya." Reggie laughed, a sound like gravel in a cement mixer. "Fair enough. What do you need?" "A favor, and maybe some muscle." That evening, I put my final plan into motion. Priya had been staying at a cheap motel since our house was legally tied up in separation proceedings. Mel had lost 3 major sponsorship deals and was facing a social media boycott. Raj was somewhere in Chicago, probably changing his name and praying I'd forget about him. But I wasn't interested in any of them anymore. I was interested in justice. Using Reggie's connections and my own technical skills, I'd tracked down something interesting: Mel's real financial situation. Turns out, the influencer lifestyle was mostly smoke and mirrors. She was drowning in debt, using credit cards to fund her fake-it-till-you-make-it existence. More importantly, she'd been skimming money from the brands she promoted, pocketing cash that was supposed to go to charity partnerships. I'd documented everything. Saturday morning, I called a press conference. Not a real one. I'm not that dramatic. But I did invite every local news outlet, blogger, and social media personality to Murphy's Pub for what I called the final chapter in the Priya Mitchell story. About 30 people showed up, including 2 actual reporters and a guy with a podcast about local drama. I stood at the front of the room, feeling more confident than I had in months. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Over the past week, you followed the story of my wife's affair and the manipulation that caused it. Today, I want to talk about accountability." I pulled up a presentation on my laptop connected to the pub's TV. Mel Richardson, known to her followers as Mel Lives Well, has built her career on promoting authenticity and female empowerment. What she hasn't told you is that she's been stealing from charities, manipulating her friends, and living a completely fake life funded by credit card debt and sponsor fraud. The room erupted in murmurs and camera clicks. I spent the next 20 minutes methodically destroying Mel's reputation with facts, figures, and documented evidence. By the time I was done, her influencer career wasn't just over, it was radioactive. "As for my wife," I continued, "she made her choices. She chose to believe her friend over her husband, chose to cheat instead of communicate, chose public humiliation over private honesty. Those choices have consequences." I clicked to the final slide. "Effective Monday, I'm filing for divorce. Priya will receive exactly what she's entitled to under state law, which given our prenup and her adultery isn't much. She's free to start over with whoever she wants, wherever she wants. But she's doing it without my money, my support, or my forgiveness." The room was silent. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time. I walked out of Murphy's Pub for the last time, leaving behind a room full of reporters and a story that would dominate local news for weeks. But the real satisfaction came Monday morning when I got 3 phone calls. First was from Raj, calling from Chicago to beg me not to pursue legal action against him. I let him sweat for a few minutes before telling him I had no interest in wasting more time on him. He was small, pathetic, and already punished by his own cowardice. Second was from Priya, sobbing and pleading for another chance. I listened to her entire speech about love and forgiveness and second chances, then hung up without saying a word. The third call was the best one. "Mr. Mitchell? This is Janet Walsh from TechFlow Solutions. We saw your press conference online and were impressed with your investigative skills and attention to detail. Would you be interested in discussing a senior analyst position with our cybersecurity division?" I started my new job 2 weeks later, with a 30% salary increase and the respect of colleagues who'd seen what I was capable of when properly motivated. Priya moved back in with her parents and took a job at a department store makeup counter. Mel declared bankruptcy and moved to Portland, where nobody knew her story. Raj, last I heard, was selling insurance and living in his mother's basement. As for me, I bought a new house across town, joined a gym, started dating a nice woman named Sarah who works in accounting and has never heard of Instagram. Sometimes late at night, I think about the man I used to be. The guy who would have forgiven anything, accepted any excuse, enabled any behavior in the name of love. That guy was a fool. This guy knows better.